If you're wondering where I came up with all the info that you have to know for the AP World History exam, it comes from this, the CED, the Course Exam and Description. You've seen it several times thus far on the countdown. I'll link it one more time below in the description. It's super long. If you read the whole thing, you're wasting your life. But the list of what you need for each section is on pages 40 through 176. It'll look a lot like the screenshots I've been showing you throughout the countdown. I bring it up now because today is one of those rare days. Today's topic is a 2-pager. I know, it's kind of a big deal. So let's get to it. Let's review the newly independent states of Unit 8. Think of this as like a new phase in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You're moving on from one major era, and now there's a whole new focus for our heroes. Plus, in a new phase, you get a bunch of new characters that expand and improve the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These newly independent states are like that. We are entering a new phase, and there's a ton of characters who will meet a ton of new problems. Decolonization is happening. What are these new states up to? And like I said a minute ago, this is a big topic, so I'm gonna break it down into only the crucial parts, considering that the exam is 3 weeks from today. First, new boundaries. Say what you will about the European imperialists, they were terrible cartographers. The borders they drew were trash. So when they're gone, there's gonna be some editing. Here's a few quick examples of the new borders in the newly independent states. Israel. British Palestine became the state of Israel. Those lines are so fluid that they're seemingly always in flux based on who occupies what part of certain regions. Cambodia. France loses their armed struggle to keep French Indochina together. In 1953, Cambodia declared independence and split from the rest of French Indochina. Pakistan. After the Indians negotiated independence with the British Raj, the Muslim League pushed for a Muslim-majority state in modern-day Pakistan. The redrawing of these borders here along the Indian-Pakistan border and the migration that followed the partition of India left over 1 million dead in the civil war between India and Pakistan. Second thing to know about these newly independent states, economic development. This is kind of weird that the College Board includes this section at all, but we'll just go with it. They want you to know that these governments tried to guide economic development in their countries. Yeah, that's what governments do. This seems redundant, but here's a few examples. In Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser guided Egypt with the construction of the Aswan High Dam to finally control the miracle of the Nile, irrigate, and power half of all of Egypt's electricity. In Sri Lanka, Sirimavo Bandaranaike became the first non-hereditary female ruler of a country in the history of the planet in 1960. She guided the economy by making all of the private schools public to educate the people of Sri Lanka and to educate the future Sri Lankan workforce. In Tanzania, Julius Nyerere. Yes, I know. I'll give you a second. It's not a Hitler mustache. It's a toothbrush mustache. Chaplin had one. He's not a Nazi. Just deal with it. He comes up a lot after this, so you just gotta deal with it. Anyways, in Tanzania, he built the Tazara Railway, which is the largest sub-Saharan railway. So it turns out all that white man's burden in the West and empire building left quite a bit of work to do after they left. Third thing to know about these newly independent states, migration. I know. At the end of Unit 6, there were 2 whole sections just on migrations, but this one is slightly different. This is a special decolonization edition of migrations. This time, the migrations will be focused toward the metropoles. Metropoles are a fancy way of saying the mother country that had ruled over that colony. Think of metropoles as a pull factor or like a magnet for those former colonies to migrate to after they've gone. Due to the decades of cultural and economic blending between the mother country and her colonies, people who are migrating from a colony will find it way easier to go to the metropole. South Asians are more familiar with the British language ideas and culture. South Asians are attracted to the metropole of Great Britain. Here in America, there are a large number of Filipinos. You probably know or are someone of Filipino descent. Why? They're familiar with the American culture and language and history after being our colony for nearly 50 years. All right, so that's what's up with the newly independent states and what's going on there. Redrawing boundaries with some serious consequences, guiding the economic life of their countries like every government does on the planet, and finally migrating back to the metropole of their former mother country. But what about the people and groups who resisted the status quo that we've been setting up over the past couple of weeks? See you tomorrow.